Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's edition of Re-Tifos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Human Engineering, written by Grey Wolfen. Every species ship designs reflect their own development and cultural norms. The Trill, being web spinners, have thin ships that are laid out in a complicated web pattern. The Corelli build ships with organic curves and spirals, similar to their own shells. Human ships are both the safest and most terrifyingly dangerous ships almost any species creates. Much like the humans themselves, they seem ridiculously overbuilt, with the simplest civilian transports being equivalent to most races' light warships, minus the weapons. The safety features of any human ship stems from the human's legendary toughness and durability. Simply put, regardless of the damage, crisis, or disaster, some humans are expected to survive. Since the humans expect survivors, they make every attempt to keep the survivors alive. Multiple expert points, multiple lifeboats/pods, emergency medical supplies at every floor, training on how to use it all. The list goes on and on. Humans take these sorts of safety precautions very seriously. They say those precautions are written in the blood of the dead. This is not a literal translation, but a human expression, meaning many died before those safety programs were put in place. The shipboard internal decks, walls, and doors will also seem to be designed for more military or heavy cargo, even in passenger or maintenance areas. This is not an error or a design to sneak through military craft on civilian imports. It is a byproduct of the human's mass and preferred gravity. An adult human male may weigh in excess of 100 kilos, and an environment with standard gravity of almost 10 meters squared. Humans are able to easily jump and run in this situation. Therefore, the decks, walls, etc. must be strong enough to withstand 120 plus kilos moving at 10 meters per second, or more, impacting one less than 1/8 of a meter squared repeatedly. This is the way humans have always built ships for themselves, so they continue to do so for other races. If you ever have a chance to visit a human warship, pay attention to the thickness of the hull and bulkheads. It's impressive. The paranoia humans have about fire aboard ships has also been mentioned and often mocked. It begins to make much more sense when you experience their native atmosphere. About 20% is oxygen. Let me repeat that. 1 out of every 5 parts of air they breathe is oxygen. Yes, they have massive fires on the Hellworld. Yes, on board a human ship, almost anything that can burn will. Electrical insulation, paint, any carbon-containing item. This includes most races, as hydrocarbons are common building blocks for many alien races, including humans. It's not a paranoia about fire, but a simple reaction to the incredible danger it presents to them. In areas of stress or extreme exertion, humans sometimes will increase the oxygen content to 25%. This risk is considered negligible to them. A 20% increase is seen as a minimal risk. Now on to the dangers of a human ship. First, its acceleration and gravity. Humans can withstand many times the acceleration of most other races, often without any discomfort. Indeed, a common entertainment on their worlds is to strap themselves into machines that can give extreme acceleration or deceleration while the rider's enjoyment. 20 meters per second is noticeable, but not uncomfortable if they are warned. Humans can easily tolerate up to 40 meters per second, although most find it unpleasant. If you travel on a human ship, make sure that you warn them of your limits. Magnetic fields. Humans are almost totally immune to magnetic fields. It may damage their equipment, but their bodies seem to suffer no effect from even the strongest fields. Because of this, there may be little to no warning about them. Environmental conditions. Humans can endure extreme heat or cold and can travel between them easily. A human can enter a room at 100 degrees C, walk through it, and immediately enter a room of 0 degrees C. Pass through that room and enter a room at 25 degrees C with no ill effects. Any extreme heat or cold exposure for longer periods of time will need proper protection. but what many humans consider somewhat unpleasant may be lethal to many species. Humans will do their best to protect any aliens from this, but often do not think to ask, as it poses no danger to them. Experimental ships. Do not go near any ships that humans are experimenting with. This is a ship that even humans consider dangerous and possibly unstable. While most races will carefully examine and understand X and then Y, and spend much time and debate on what happens when you add them together, the human concept seems to be we sort of understand X, we just found Y, add them together we get Z. Now work backwards to find out how and why that happened. One last thing to consider. Humans consider all technology to be the same. It is a difficult concept to translate, but they seem to be able to somehow cobble together technologies from multiple sources and design philosophies, and make them work together, often in ways no one else considered. Assume any technology they acquire from your species will be used in ways inconceivable to you. End of story. Story number 2. They are all war forms, written by the Emperor's finest. They are all war forms. My mother's form rarely spoke of her experience during the war, but when she did, there was a line that always sent chills through me. She was young at the time, just on the cusp of leaving her own mother form to sire her first generation. She was in Folion when the shells began to fall. She said the way that the cracked shield stopped the missiles was more terrifying than the impacts would have been. 1 second, you'd be looking at a clear red sky, and the next there'd be a slap of force through the air as a tremendous crack sounded. The perfect red would be stained by a veil of flat lightning, behind which you could see the bright splatter of incendiary yellow. The barrage lasted a long time as the war forms started to direct the city, ordering the build forms, mother forms, and info forms back towards the city center. The war forms walked on 2 legs, my mother form would tell me, because it made for more free movement and allowed the other 4 to lug searing lance cannons. Black carapaces covered most of their bodies, and most crucially, they felt no fear. Only an adrenaline rush beyond anything the other forms were biologically equipped to experience or understand. My mother form was galloping on all limbs ahead of her own mother form's lumbering bulk. She was pregnant again at the time. She was heading down a main artery of the city, warrior forms sprinting the opposite way. Finally, the barrage became too much, and the cracked shield imploded in a tsunami of wind, flattening everyone in sight. She looked up again to find the hardened web of surrounding buildings being hit by shells, exploding into white strands that whipped away on scorching wind. She turned and saw the humans storming the streets as they exchanged fire with a line of war forms. They were armored in shining steel, elegant and worked over in flowering iconography. The war forms fought well, thick, blaring beams crashing through several of the humans at once. But there were so many of them. The thinner beams from the human smaller guns that even my mother form could have handled with ease, blazed and cracked through the hardened chitin. My mother's form stood on 4 of her legs, squealing at a brood to keep going as she dragged their shaking bodies up 2 at a time. My mother form watched a human laser bolt streak through her mother form's skull, scattering its contents in a sizzling blue cloud. That set my mother form running, screaming, before another bolt caught her in the side as she tried to round a corner, the force hammering her into an unyielding wall of web. She passed out briefly, swimming back to consciousness in time to see the humans advancing on her over the corpses, all the corpses. She knew she was dead. Some carried on as 2 stood over her, staring down. She waited for the shots that never came, and was confused, and even more scared, as they started to drag her away. Why were they doing this? Why hadn't they killed her? War forms don't take prisoners. They kill everyone on sight, always. It's what they're for. She passed out again. When she woke, it was beneath a blinding light. She turned away, and in a few seconds her eyes adjusted. She was in a gleaming metal room on a bed too small and the wrong shape. The room was filled with human war forms, some standing at the room's edges, armed, some conspicuously unarmed, dressed in softer clothes and moving through the room as they manhandled others of our race on other beds. But they weren't manhandling or hurting them, my mother form realized with shock. They were giving them medical treatment, closing wounds and injecting medicine. But they weren't heal forms. They were dressed different. My mother form had had the fact that humans were artificial outer layers explained to her, but bar minor variations, they were no different from those that killed our war forms. My mother form was a prisoner from then till the treaty, and learned much of them, but nothing ever baffled and amazed her more than one fact that took her a long time to fully understand. All humans were all human forms, even for me, born in a more enlightened generation. It is bizarre, unnerving, and inspiring to think about. There are no bold humans, or war humans, or creative humans. They are all born the same and choose their function, carving themselves into what they need to be. Those who engage in war do so despite being born with the same fear as those that build or learn. Putting aside how alien it is, how terrifying, I cannot help but find it beautiful and humbling that each of them is capable of anything any other can do, that each individual human contains the potential of their entire species, that their war forms no fear and sometimes even mercy. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.